Ready? We ready? All right, see, y'all kind of hushed just by me stomping on the stage, so I didn't have to come up with some clever intro line. Good job, class. My name is Justin Hubbard. I'm the director of our accounting and financial outsourcing group at Dean Dorton. I've gotten to know several of you over the years because I was an auditor for most of my time at Dean Dorton. I've been with the firm since '06. Was in the audit department and then pivoted to this wild world of outsourced services, advisory services, and here we are today. The obligatory objective slide is before you. I want to calm everybody's nerves. I'm not going to be pitching outsourcing. I'm going to be pitching a problem that we've got to face and we have to deal with, and outsourcing might be one part of the solution. And I couldn't quite figure out how to articulate my thoughts in a slide, and I don't know about your all's organizations, but in our organization, marketing rules the roost, and if you didn't have your Dapburn slides presented to them, well, you're just going to be up here with stick figures and crayons. I had an epiphany last week while at a conference in Dallas about it helped me connect my conundrum, if you will, as far as a meaningful way to present this concept. The keynote speaker was, I don't even know where he was from, but his topic was the vanishing workforce. And you can probably predict where this is going. But he talked a lot about the vanishing workforce. He was not a very creative person. He's very straightforward. But he is a statistician, does a lot of work for the Census Bureau, and he walked us through this upcoming cliff known as the pending labor shortage. And he walked us through COVID. Pre-COVID, we had 7 million open jobs and 5.9 million unemployed people. So that gap was pretty close. Currently, as of April of 2022, we're looking at 11.5 million job openings. We need 537,000 more workers just to get to where we were pre-COVID, and then 3.4 million more people just to try to even attempt to meet the open demand for workers. So you partner that with the pending or the known the known decline in our birth rates. The replacement fertility rate is at 2.1. The past 12, 18 months, the fertility rate has been at 1.64. We have a problem, and if you're not feeling it right now, you will. If you look at the statistics, we're not making enough people. Well, you feel your labor problems two ways: you bring people in, or you make new workers. Legal immigration is down, and then the other way is down as well. If you look at statistics from kids, I'm 40 now, so I can call anybody in their 20s a kid. Kids from 22 and down are declining almost without exception. So the population is shrinking. And now I'll stop my rant with this and get into the heart of the presentation. By 2034, older adults will outnumber children for the first time in U.S. history. 2034 is not that far away. So this is an issue that we're going to have to deal with. And I want to talk about one element, that doomsday scenario paints one of the the backdrop for what I want to talk about from the standpoint of an option to meet your labor needs in the form of outsourcing. So my team, we do outsourced accounting and outsourced advisory services. As a firm, we also assist with IT and various other managed services in the technology realm. And I'll have a slide at the end just to list those out. But the goal of the next few minutes is to talk about a business case for outsourcing certain functions within your organization, and then how to execute a successful program. I'm not going to say outsourcing is the end-all be-all and it's right for everybody, but there are some key elements and key characteristics that aid to people's success. So let's just start with this word, because it's a gross word. Thanks to our manufacturing friends, typically we think of outsourcing as a loss of jobs that go overseas, historically much to the detriment of workers here, and some would argue to our local economy. No one even bothers with Webster anymore. This is just a blatant Google search. Sorry, I didn't do too well in those classes in terms of documenting my sources. So obtain goods or service from an outside or foreign supplier, especially in place of an internal source. Well, let's break that down, because that sounded gross, and it didn't sound useful, and it sounded like a string of words that we would real quickly turn our nose at, right? And it's funny, so our kids are learning Latin right now. We have 4 kids in this classical education thing. So my wife and I spend a ton of time doing this, just dissecting phrases. So let's start with that word service. What is a potential service? Anything from HR, IT, accounting, maintenance. Maybe you're just outsourcing the burden of having to find more people. I've had a lot of our business in the outsourced accounting department comes to us, and I ask the person, so why are you calling me? Like, well, I don't know you, I don't know your business, why are you contacting me? They say, I'm tired of hiring accountants. Oh, okay, well, that's what we do, we're an accounting firm. But they're just relief from that burden. From an outside or foreign supplier. So the beauty of that, we typically jump to the foreign supplier, or we jump to that word outside, loss of control. Well, if you find the right partner, that outside party represents a bulk of knowledge that you may not have access to, a whole bench of resources that you don't have access to, and potentially the ability to leverage from their experience across other similar organizations such as yours that you can benefit from. Also, the ability to add capacity to scale with your needs as your requirements change. And really what I want to focus on is this notion that outsourcing has to be a replacement. Outsourcing should, in a successful arrangement, be a restorative process where you're actually empowering your existing people who are on the ground, who know your business, to add more value to your business, not for them to be replaced. So putting internal resources to better and higher uses. Because as I'm sure we all would agree, hiring replacement workers is a major pain right now. Just a show of hands, are you all having issues with recruiting? We're seeing it everywhere. So emerging areas that we've seen, just based upon the phone ringing in our office for outsourcing in higher ed, accounting, cybersecurity. Cyber threats are rampant, whereas you used to have an IT guy who would police the entire university. Those days are long gone. Reporting, SFA, the Bursar office. We've got a random call the other week. Can you all just supplement our Bursar function? We'll see. Payroll, tax, and certainly human resources. But I want to drive home this notion of realignment versus replacing, right? So how many of y'all have the exhausted grant accountant in your organization? They're just beat down. They're having to do everything. When I was doing the financial statement audits, I did not like talking to those people. One, they are the riskiest son of a gun in your, well, not the risky, but they hold a lot of risk. If they're screwing up, they can cause a domino effect of things I don't understand. You get into your CFA compliance. They're hard to replace, and they know the guts of your operation more so than anybody wanted to admit. So what if you took that exhaustive grant accountant, gave them some external resources to oversee, engineered a process, and all of a sudden they're managing outsourced staff. They're maintaining control. An organization is just supplementing. Are you waving at me, Julia? Okay. She told me to pay attention to what she's doing, and now she's going, I'm open, throw me the ball. The overwhelmed IT guy, these were the best people to talk to on the audit front, because you got about 15 minutes of their call and of their time, and they would give you, they would receive about 140 emails during that 15 minutes. Well, I mean, maybe they need to be moved to an IT manager type position, given some resources they can manage. They know they need your organization. Or maybe they would be better suited if you brought in someone to sit on top of them and just to help develop their career and supplement their skill set. My favorite is the drowning HR department. Do we have any HR professionals here? HR people are like the Avengers. They have one superpower, and they all work within this function. But you got your HR person with your benefits power. They've got the recruiting power, but they all don't do everything. But they're frequently tasked with doing everything. And so why not? Can you build a system in which each person on your HR team is operating in their lane where they're comfortable with? That's what they've received training on. And then you've got the outsourced HR compliance person who's simply making sure you all don't get into any labor issues with the DLL, or can just help make sure that you're doing everything that you can to maintain an engaged workforce. And maybe it doesn't take a lot of time. Maybe it's just they needing somebody to coach them, to lean in, to give somebody some new, fresh insights into the organization. However, I keep harping on this. Outsourcing is just one piece of the puzzle. You cannot look to an outsourced solution to meet all of your needs, because it won't. I mean, they exist to supplement you. You have to worry about your compliance matters, your technology. Obviously, your what's key to your business, enrollment, staff retention, and then just the overall effectiveness of management. It's been my experience in working with various organizations, when organizations just want to outsource all of their problems, and that's as well as they can articulate it, that's when outsourcing fails. But it has to be one piece of the puzzle, and we'll talk about how it can fit into your overall culture. Real quick, I want to be transparent. These are just things I've observed in 3 years of working in an outsourcing arrangement. The benefits, access to professionals, it can be cost efficient. Outsourcing groups tend to lean very heavily on technology. So you get access to new tools, which can elevate the overall sophistication from an IT front of your organization. They lean very heavily on standardized processes. So if you feel like you're losing ground because your processes aren't documented, you're not consistent across business units, an outsourcing solution can remedy that. The good old profit motive gets things done pretty effectively. Also, I want to point out the ability to upgrade or realign your existing team. If you've got key team members who are stuck, who have high potential, they're adding value to the organization, but you just can't get them to help to elevate them to a higher level of operating within the organization. Maybe you just need to give them supplement their tasks by using outsourced resources. There are some challenges, right? You do lose control, okay? You can't use your AP clerk to go get your lunch because chances are it'll be done remotely. There will be that day-to-day loss of touch because it's somebody who won't be in your office. Clarifying expectations is also a challenge. If I tell people, it's like, this is an extreme example, but typically extreme examples drive points home. Like when you have your first baby, and everyone says, oh, everything's going to change. Everything's going to change. Well, you don't know how big everything is until you have that baby, because things change quickly. And when you enter into a true outsourced realm, things change. And it fosters a whole slew of changes, but you have to be willing to accept that and okay with that. I already talked about change. So, thinking through this, preparing for this, this is 5 quick bullet points to help you consider if outsourcing is a good fit for you. Well, really, if you think, okay, I've got this need, our organization needs more resources. How do we build this in a successful manner? I think successful manner. Sorry. 5 simple things. You got to have a strategy. Like, what are you going to outsource? You have to build a plan, starting from what are your pain points? What does success look like? Is this just a temporary situation? Is this an indefinite situation? Do you even know? What are your objectives? And then just building a roadmap of what success looks like before you even start talking about economics. It has to be a need for an acceptance of qualitative change before you can start talking about the quantitative factors. Most failures occur, it's been my experience, bar none, lack of planning on the front end. People will talk about how to do a plan, but it's that you don't take it seriously on building expectations, really what you mean, what the pain points are. That it becomes very evident that both parties do not properly think this through. Develop a solution, okay? Organization as sophisticated as your all's, you know what you need, and you need to find a partner that can help you, flesh out what you need and provide your services. But it's not going to be don't rely on you got to rely on the experts, but don't take their word just because they're the experts without strongly valuing your own insight and your own input. Identify the parameters, build an RFP process that is very specific to your needs. Otherwise, you're going to get all kinds of people responding to the RFP. And then start thinking about who are the types of people you want to work with. Geographically, do you want somebody are you open, culturally, can you handle somebody who's in a different time zone? Do you want, can you handle offshoring, if you're being honest? Thank you, Julia. But really documenting what does success look like for your organization. And then finding a partner. Sounds like a marriage slide. I promise it's not. You might think it is if you go down this road. But making sure the vendor activities align with your own business goals and strategic goals. Because they will be in your business. And by in your business. They're going to know, you're going to be interacting with them quite a bit. They're going to know when you're on vacation. You're going to know when they're on vacation. You're going to it's going to sound odd, get comfortable with people you can yell at and but not want them to go away. My Dean Dorton colleagues are like, how dare you say that? But this is a much more confrontational relationship than typical service providers. You have to be honest with them about what's not working, what they're dropping the ball on. They have to be honest with you about, hey, this was not our understanding when we bid this work out. This is how we're going to fix it. You got to have that type of that conversation with that. So you have to enjoy working with the group. Ask about staff continuity. You are having having issues hiring and replacing people, right? That's probably one of your key strategic concerns. Ask your potential vendor about their staff continuity. You don't want to be training their people all the time. That's just a requirement. You are shifting that burden of having to recruit people, but make sure they can successfully fulfill that obligation. Obviously, reputational risk. Are they in the news for misdealings? Are they competent? Can they do the job? You are very complex. You do a lot of weird stuff that organizations don't see every day. We are actually doing the back office accounting for a small college in Vermont. We're doing everything. And I am so thankful that we have somebody on our staff, on the outsourced accounting team, that knows how to speak that language. I'm so thankful that we as a firm have invested in the higher ed community, and so we have a bank of resources. I learned really quick the difference between someone like me who just tries to fake it when I'm talking at a deep level with a client or an industry that I don't know, I don't have a lot of depth with, versus somebody who can truly engage on a personal level. So if you're not buying what they're selling, if they're just throwing buzzwords at you or flashiness, just don't go with them just because don't go with a partner or identify a partner based upon the quality of the letterhead. That's what I'm trying to say. And obviously data security has to be a concern at all times. Execute a transition plan. You have the knowledge, build a plan that transitions it to the outsourced provider, or if it's to the people who are going to be doing the service. Don't assume people will figure it out. Things get lost in the details. So have a formal plan, not a checklist, but a true plan that cradle to grave, how this thing is going to look like, who's going to be involved, what are the buttons that's going to be pushed, who's pushing the buttons, and who's maintaining the quality. Don't leave any room for chance. And it does require constant support from all areas of the organization, because this is a fundamental change. If your president is not on board with investment in automation, then don't do it, because you're not going to change their mind, and it's just going to be this constant conflict. President was probably a horrible example. If your key internal accounting people aren't on board with these types of challenges or changes, then I would challenge you to really dig into that before you start pushing this forward, because it's going to be delayed and frustrated. And then last point for a success in an outsourcing program is just constant monitoring. If the service isn't getting better, if you're not getting new insights, if your operations aren't smoother or aren't operating more smoothly, I guess is a better way to say it, then what's the point? So there has to be an environment of continual improvement, a willingness to try new things, to pursue new opportunities, to expand services into other areas, realms that may add to ongoing efficiencies. Along these lines, one of the things I should have mentioned earlier, when choosing your preferred vendor, do consider limiting the number of vendors you can have. You don't want to have 10 plus contracts with different outsourced providers. It just becomes a tedious hassle. So as much as if you can get comfortable with fewer providers, that way you can always be identifying new opportunities to add new innovations, make improvements, and not run the risk of vendors competing with each other. Then that would be preferable. Yeah, and then just it is a relationship. People in the outsourced game, such as us, we're thinking about it in terms of multi-years, 10 years down the road, not just a quick relationship. And so, be open to that, because that's where the value is. There inevitably will be frustration on the front end, but those frustrations need to quickly turn into transformative means of value. All right, so a successful outsourcing relationship should become a change agent across the organization as your culture adapts to insider influence. A source of continual improvement, and then just collaborative enhancement. It's very much a two-way street. It's not. It should not be, oh, this is what the experts say. It should very much be, this is my experience in working with your organization. Hey, I think our strategic goals means we need to go here and start considering that. So it has to be collaborative. Otherwise, you're not going to get the value that could be. I've got, we're probably at 3 minutes. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know I'm up against lunch. So if there are any. Yes, sir.
Keep talking about the plan. Wait, sir. Thank you. You keep talking about plans. Can you spend about less than a minute and say, what does that plan look like? So if I want to, like in my HR department, I'm thinking about maybe outsourcing benefit plans. Okay, so what would that plan kind of look like when because you keep seeing plans and It's like, so does that mean I got to write down and put a mission statement or a plan that says, okay, so what is it that you mean when you talk about a plan?
Very, very fair question. A plan is just an agreement on your organization's end. What are the pain points? What are the problems that need to be fixed? And then what you think correcting those will look like and what the benefits of that are. So no, not a mission statement, nothing formal, just some thought going into the overall process.
Have you found, you talk about cost efficiency. Thank you, John. You talk about cost efficiencies. Have you found that the cost efficiencies outweigh an internal person in terms of like benefits that we have to pay and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes. Admittedly, I'm very biased. The ability to recruit, potentially higher end. So we're going to take a resource to give your organization and spread them across multiple resources. And so hopefully we're bringing in somebody at a very high level, and you're benefiting from a resource that's shared across multiple groups. But then for the day-to-day work, we would be pairing them with a team who can do the work, and so you're getting access to the team just to get the work done, as well as a higher end resource at a cost that's certainly the goal is to be less than what you can bring in.
Correct.
Okay. It definitely makes tons of sense if you're in a more rural area and are trying to recruit people to your area.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Anything else? I'll hang out for a second. Feel free to reach out to me, and my contact information is there. If you're a geek like me and just love to look at population numbers, there's the article that I referenced is called The Demographic Drought, and it's a Census Bureau funded study on some of these obstacles we're going to have to overcome in order to retool our workforce. So we're definitely all in that one together. So thank you all for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Lunch will be served in the Lexington room. Don't know where that is, but.
It's exactly where breakfast was. And for our virtual attendees, please enjoy the next 45 minutes and circle back at 12:45 to hear from Dr. Whelan. Thank you so much.